Greetings, everybody. This is Brother Cruz. I'm in Temple, Texas, May 27th, 2022. I want to share a little small devotion here, and I titled it, Being a Good Friend. I want to start out with an illustration here. Let me read this from my notes. Illustration on being a good friend. A British publication once offered a prize for the best definition of a friend. Among the thousands of answers received were the following. Being a friend is one who multiplies joys, divides grief, and whose honesty is unavoidable. Being a friend is one who understands our silence. Being a friend is a volume of sympathy bound in cloth. Being a friend is a watch that beats true for all time and never runs down. The winning definition of what it means to be a friend was, a friend is the one who comes in when the whole world has gone out. My friends, I want to open up with this true story. Last week, I was invited, I had a wedding that I needed to go to. Actually, I was supposed to officiate the wedding, but I wasn't able to because of a foot injury that I had gotten. And the foot injury was pretty severe to where my foot had become infected. So I was limited in my movement. I still wanted to go to the wedding because it was a good friend of mine that was going to get married. Well, a good friend of mine from Waxahachie, Texas, named Charles Dobbs, he called me and he said, man, I know you want to go to that wedding. I'm going to come and pick you up and take you to that wedding. Now, mind you, my friend lives in Waxahachie, Texas, which is north 2 miles from Temple. The wedding is east from me 3 hours in Lufkin, Texas. So my friend Charles Dobbs drove 2 hours south to pick me up so I wouldn't have to drive and use my foot, my hurt foot. And then he drove another 3 hours to Lufkin, Texas, so that I could make it to that wedding. And not only that, my friends, this good friend of mine on the way back had to drive 3 hours this way to Temple and then drop me off and drive yet another 2 hours to get back home to his house in Midlothian, Texas. So what I'm saying, it was a 10-hour round trip that my friend had to drive. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go out of his way to take me to this wedding. But you know what? That's what friends do. That's what good friends do. So I was inspired by his actions, and I wanted to give this small devotion on being a good friend. This is just part 1 of being a good friend. Next week, I'm going to do part 2 of being a good friend. So I wrote down 3 thoughts that came to me concerning my friend, on what it takes to show somebody that you're a good friend. Number 1, I get this from Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. And it says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." So my thought number 1 is, a good friend is one who is sympathetic and comforting during difficult times. Sympathetic means feelings of sorrow for someone else's misfortune. And that's what I thought of about my friend, that during my times of discomfort, during my time of misfortune, not being able to get around because of an injured foot, my friend felt sympathetic toward me. And he didn't just think about it. He didn't just pray about it. He got into his pickup and drove 2 hours down here to come pick me up and take me 3 more hours to Lufkin, Texas. So number one, my friends, a sign of someone who's a good friend is that they're sympathetic and comforting during your difficult times. Number two, I get this from Romans chapter 12, verse 15. It reads, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep." So my thought was, a good friend is one who rejoices during our good moments and weeps with us during our times of grieving. And that's the kind of friends that I have. And that's the kind of friend that Mr. Dobbs was to me, that when I'm down, he feels the empathy. He feels sympathetic toward me. And he wants to comfort me. But when I'm up, when things are going good, he rejoices with me. When he knows I'm healthy, when he knows I'm well, when he knows I'm doing the prison ministry God called me to, when he knows I'm doing my Bible studies, he rejoices with me. He's if you'll let me use this word, it's probably not the choice word for the moment, but he's a fan of mine. What I mean by that, he pulls for me. He's cheering me on. He encourages me when things are going good. And then when things aren't going so well, guess what? He's there for me. There's times when he may not know what to say to me, but I know this, he's there for me. And I thank God for a friend like him and other friends like that. Thought number 3, the last thought on this small devotion. I got it out of Mark chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. It says, "He entered again into a synagogue, and a man was there whose hand was withered. They were watching him." The they is the Pharisees. They were watching him. The him is Jesus. They were watching him to see if he would heal on the Sabbath, so they might accuse him. He said to the man with the withered hand, "Get up and come forward." And he said to them, the Pharisees, "Is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath, to save a life or to kill?" But they all, talking about the Pharisees, but they kept silent. Verse 5. After looking around at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart, he said to the man with the withered hand, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and the hand was restored. In other words, Jesus was seeing how this man who needed a healing wasn't really going to get a whole lot of sympathy or a whole lot of help from these Pharisees, because according to their laws and their traditions, they're not going to do those things on the Sabbath. But Jesus said, is it better to do good on the Sabbath, or is it better to do bad? Is it better to give life on the Sabbath, or is it better to kill? So here's thought number 3 on signs that you're a good friend. A good friend is irate. Irate means shows great anger. A good friend is irate when one is mistreated. A good friend shows great anger when he is mistreated. There's great anger within him when one of his friends is mistreated. And I thank God that I have friends that when they see me being mistreated to whatever degree, or, there's times in ministry when you're not appreciated. And so a lot of my friends feel like I'm not appreciated. My point is, when they see their friend mistreated, great anger arises within them. That's when you know you got a friend, when he's willing to stand up and he says to you, it's going to be all right, man. I got your back. And I'm proud to say that I have, in particular, I'm talking about Charles Dobb today, but I have several friends that are like that. They've got my back. They say iron sharpens iron. I want to thank God that I have godly friends that can give me godly advice, godly friends that will comfort me during my low times, godly friends that will encourage me during my high times, godly friends that will get upset when they feel like I'm being mistreated or unappreciated, godly friends that are sympathetic and comforting when I need to hear, hey, everything's going to be okay. When I need to hear, hey man, you did a good job. Who doesn't need to hear that every now and then? In closing, a godly friend speaks truth into your life even when it's difficult to hear. A true friend loves you and genuinely wants the best for you. They would tell you both the good and the bad. My friends, I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend this weekend, and I pray that you appreciate your close friends. God bless you, and remember, no retreat, no surrender. God bless.